Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It's time to go back to Celtic Transfer Talk this afternoon. It's been a while. It's been a quiet few days, in fact, but there's a few things to discuss. With Jota leaving the club, is it time now for Celtic to go and make a statement signing that would really back up everything Brendan Rodgers has said about where he wants to take the club? That's what we're talking about today. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 40,000 subscribers as quickly as we can, so it's absolutely free if you haven't done it. Just below the video, the big red subscribe button, the wee thumbs up as well. It would be much appreciated. But let's get into talking about Celtic and the rest of this transfer window. Now later on in the video, we're going to talk about the update on the Hyun-jun situation. You've probably heard about that. But to start off with, as we all know, Celtic are going through a sort of mini renovation, you could say, with Brendan Rodgers returning to the club. We have been told there has been promises put in place towards recruitment and backing because there's this vision that Brendan Rodgers could do something special with us in Europe. And to do that, we're looking at a very exciting transfer window, one that we've heard, Rodgers could see up to 20, 30, 40 million pounds to spend. We then see Jota leave the club for 25 million quid as well. How much of that's going to be added to the transfer kitty? It's a very exciting time, and it's one that asks, well, who are we going to spend it on? With big players leaving the club, aka Jota, and who knows, potentially other players too, we need to replace them. And not only do we need to replace those players who leave the club this transfer window, we need to just improve this side we've got. It's a good side. It's one of the best sides I think we've had in recent years at Celtic. But we've fallen short at major hurdles, in European football for the last couple of years. And, well, we can extend that beyond a couple of years. But we need to get over that hurdle. And to do that, you need the best of the best. So it's not just about replacing players like Jota who may be leaving the club. It's about improving what we already have. Because in every position, it's always possible to get better. And if we're going to be serious about this challenging in Europe, then the money needs to be spent big this summer, and it has to be shown that Brendan Rodgers has got the 100% backing and faith of the Celtic board. So one of the names that has been linked with Celtic amongst all of that has been Fabian Rieder of Young Boys in Switzerland. He's a name that's been thrown around quite a bit right now in social media, and it's been reported that Brendan Rodgers is keen on bringing him to Celtic Park. So we're going to talk a little bit about him today, because this is exactly the kind of signing that, if you're going off price tag anyway, would show that Celtic certainly mean business. Now take this with a pinch of salt. It's one of these names that's been kind of thrown out by the media. It's now generated some traction. People are starting to throw his name around a lot more often. I can't sit here and say that the links that have been presented have a lot of, truth in it. It could just be a name. But aside from that, is this the kind of signing we should expect Celtic to make when you're looking at someone who's valued at around 15 million quid? Fabian Rieder, here he is on screen now, 21 years of age, Swiss international, and apparently has attracted some admiration from Brendan Rodgers. That was in the words of the Daily Record report. Could he be one of the key names to be brought in and trying to challenge in Europe? Is this the kind of player we need? He has been very impressive for Young Boys since making his debut a few years ago, and at such a young age he has gathered a lot of attraction in Europe. Apparently a number of European clubs in for him, as it looks almost certain that he will leave the club. He's an attacking midfielder, central midfielder, who was brilliant last campaign. And since he broke onto the scene, he's just been consistently good. There's a lot of comparisons to the likes of Callum McGregor, with the way he is just consistently great in the middle of the park, can do the dirty work, can go forward. And it looks as though his exit from Young Boys is all but certain. But there is the small matter of that price tag I just mentioned, and 15 million quid. Two-time champion already in the Swiss Pro League. That's the kind of winner that you want, someone who's used to winning trophies and know what it takes to win trophies. Of course, the Swiss Pro League a competitive league. Some good teams in there, sides that have obviously done okay in Europe as well over the past few years. You look at Basel, Young Boys, two of the biggest sides in that country to battle for the title. He's a two-time champion, a Swiss international as well at the age of 21, making 2 appearances at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. He's already made 116 senior appearances for Young Boys at the age of 21. So as someone who has quality, someone who's been a mainstay in that team week in, week out since his debut, and in that time 14 goals and 23 assists from central midfield. Last season 9 goals and 10 assists. So he's someone who knows how to find the net from centre midfield, which is always a good trait, especially at Celtic in recent years, where we've been incredibly lucky with the quality in the middle of the park, guys who know how to score and make goals, not just passing the ball or defending. They can do the whole thing. That's exactly the kind of player that you're looking at here with Fabian Rieder. You also might remember him from a game a few years ago, Old Trafford, when he burst onto the scene. He scored in Old Trafford in the Champions League. It was a massive moment for I'd imagine him. But yeah, just one of those ones. Young guy breaks out in the scene, scores a goal at one of the most iconic stadiums in the world. It was, yeah, someone who right there and then, especially back home in Switzerland, had a lot of things thrown at him, had a lot of popularity and was dubbed one for the future. What we need to talk about here is the price tag, £15 million. That is obviously a massive gamble for Celtic, for someone who, you know, I don't know too much about, and the majority of us won't know too much about. We don't sit and watch the Swiss Pro League. I'd imagine that you're the same as me watching at home. 15 million's a lot of money, and I think that Brendan Rodgers has to be sure and has to do a job in convincing the board that he's sure if that's the kind of guy he needs. But you can take away the player for a moment, forget about Rieder, forget about him himself, talk about just that kind of signing, a £15 million signing. Are Celtic ready to make that leap? Do you think it's sensible for Celtic to make that leap? You've got to do it at some point. That's the way I look at it. It's not like we can just slowly edge our way there and go from, you know, the usual 6-7 million signings to 8 to 9 to 10 and work your way to 15. I think you've got to pull the trigger at some point and show that sign of intent. And to be honest, looking at Fabian Rieder, he could be the guy to do it with, because he looks like a star. He looks like a talent who could be worth every penny. But then this isn't the same as a 5 or 6 million where you take your loss and you move on, you try and find somebody else and you recoup your money elsewhere. This is massive. This would be usually a full, or you know, at least a half a transfer budget for a normal summer window at Celtic. So it's massive. We'd usually that cap of 6-7 million for a player. I know we went above and beyond for Edouard that one season, but usually on average the highest will pay £6-7 million. This is doubling that, more than doubling that. Are Celtic going to do that? Is it realistic for Celtic? Well, if there's any summer to make it realistic, it is this one. I think that one of the problems is with a number of European clubs looking at someone like him, that could drive the money up. Apparently Young Boys have accepted that he's off. The director of the club has spoke openly about that he'll probably leave. But is that going to drive the money up? Do they understand now that, okay, if there's clubs in Scotland, England, other places in Europe looking at this guy, we can get more, we can get 20 million, we can get 25 million. That's when it starts to get unrealistic for Celtic. So is there going to be a serious interest from us enough to go and inquire? Because that could just go up and up and up, and it becomes a pointless venture for Celtic. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch if anything more comes out about it. All we've heard so far is Rodgers apparently very interested in him and admires him as a player. But I think he's got all the tools to be a fantastic Brendan Rodgers player. From what I have seen of him in my research, you know, you look how good McGregor, how effective McGregor was in Rodgers' first tenure here. You're looking at maybe a McGregor 2.0. You look at his Leicester side and the centre midfielders that he had down there as well, and the way that they played football and his style. I think that he fits like a glove. It all just comes about that question, do they want to spend that money? It's certainly one to look at. We'll allow it to develop and see if anything comes from it, and then we'll talk about it in more depth. But at least, is this the calibre of signing Celtic should be going for now? Is this the price tag that we should expect to see spent on a player? Let me know your opinions, because wow, it would be a massive change to say the least. To wrap up today's video, let's talk about the updates that have came out surrounding Hyun-jun. and his proposed move to Celtic. It looks as though the door has opened for him. He's being allowed to leave Gangwon in Korea for now. They have given up on trying to keep him until the winter transfer window, and I think this all comes after his comments trying to force this move to Celtic. The price tag has been revealed and what it will take to land him, so are Celtic ready to make their move? It's been revealed that Celtic will have to pay in the region of £2 to £2.5 million if they want to secure the signing of Hyun-jun. We obviously looked at him in quite some depth on the channel last week, but yeah, the struggling side have decided, well, we can't fight this battle any longer. He's made it evidently clear he wants to take this opportunity. So now, in the next week or so, will we see Celtic try to advance this if the interest is that serious? It seems there has been communication between the player and Celtic. So I think that over the next week, you should probably expect to hear more about that. He obviously comes in with all the backing from Celtic that they want him. That must speak volumes about the kind of player we're getting here. I've seen a lot of people be underwhelmed by it as well, but it's one of those ones. You can't really judge him till you see him. We don't watch the K-League either. This is the reality of being a Celtic fan. You know, the players that we sign, we don't know a lot about, and you need to hope they arrive and bring the best. But yeah, so it looks as though he's off. The club have spoke about it. It looks as though he's away. They said they've completely reevaluated the policy of no summer transfers. They've solved everything with the player. Yeah, it looks as though he's basically off if Celtic decide to meet that price tag. So are they willing to pay up to £2.5 million is the real question. He could be our next signing in this transfer window. And that's it for today. A lot of speculation, rumours and all the rest of it, but you can only work with what you're given, I suppose. It's got to be an interesting couple of weeks because I'm hoping we start to see an acceleration in players coming through the door, obviously doing our due diligence and making sure we're signing players, not just for the sake of it, but because that's what the manager needs and wants. But, you know, we need to see improvement in the team. We want to see this side that's apparently going to take us far in Europe. So, hopefully, we see things happen. But that's me for today. Like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. We'll be back with the podcast tomorrow, so make sure to check that out. But from me, that's all. I'll see you all next time.